All right, we are BD back for the fifth stay of the franchise. Our newest owner here, Jillian, it's her second full season in the league and her third technical season after taking over for Norris a couple years back. Turning the team around right away. She showed what she was capable of. She had a pretty solid team, had a great draft, honestly, that we'll touch upon a little bit. Made the team into a playoff team right away.
Yeah, and let me see. Do I have it up? I do. Pull this. All right, so going into the history, obviously we talked about it. Jill is a new GM. Maybe new is not the right word because she's kind of been Ryan's
Yeah,
shadow GM for a while.
that's a good point.
Went 10, or excuse me, 10-8 all time record. That's 56% winning percentage, which is the third highest all time, only behind you and I.
Hey.
2024 went 8-6. So pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think started the season a little slow. Maybe he had a losing record after 4 or 5 games and just really turned it up, which I think was your call. You gave me some props, so I'll give you some props. I think you said that Jillian was going to turn it around and make a run. And she did. She made the playoffs. I don't think she had her best showing in the playoffs. But first appearance, she's got the experience now. I think she's ready for more in season three.
And keepers last year, just to recap, so Patrick Mahomes, James Conner, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Devon Achane, Mark Andrews, Tank Dell, all still on the roster.
Wow.
And almost all of them are impact players.
100%. And yeah, the only one I guess would be Tank Dell, where that's just bad luck with injuries.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a stud right now. So yeah, she liked the guys she had and she held on to the roster. Didn't make a ton of moves, but just added through the draft, as we'll see as we go through it.
Nope. And we'll get right into running backs. So maybe one of the best groups here. So obviously Saquon Barkley, huge gaps, huge.
Huge.
Blue chip player all around. Then Devon Achane, only 23 years old, 2 years left on his contract. Finished as running back six last year. We had him as a purple going into last year. We still have him as a purple, so another hit for us, Jack.
Let's go.
James Conner got the extension last year. He was running back 10.
It's
I actually,
unbelievable.
I know, he played really well last year, almost like Scatabo at Arizona State. Um, but I had him as a yellow. You had him as a green. We both had him as green this year. I think he's probably one of these guys where he's older, but kind of same with Stefan Diggs, where he's just going to be a green until
So
he's
the wheels
not.
fall off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I get the thought last year, Trey Benson comes in. I think they drafted him in the second round, so
Yeah,
you'd expect him to eat into the workload a little bit, but I think it took a little bit of time for him to figure out the NFL. So we might see him cut into his workload this year a bit more. I think James Conner even said in an interview that we're both number one running back right now. Talking about him and Trey Benson that they're 1A and 1B. So it'd be interesting to see how that actually plays out.
yeah,
I think come week one, I feel like James Conner's still going to get 18 to 20 carries.
yeah. I think it's his backfield and until they're done with him.
Mhm.
Then Tyrone Tracy is probably the next guy. Finished as running back 26 last year. I know we kind of talked about it briefly in one of the previous episodes. Um, but a guy you're a little higher on, so you have him as a pink. I have him as a yellow. I don't know that I see him as a long term solution. He's also 25 right now. Guess, do you want to dive into that a little?
Yeah, I think he showed enough last year. He wasn't start. Singletary was the guy last year for him, and I don't know if Singletary he might have got hurt or he just might have lost the job. I think he got banged up for a few weeks, and then after that, Tyrone Tracy just kind of took over, and that was just a bad team last year. That was a
Yeah,
bad offense, and he was still able to produce consistent fantasy outputs. So I think they shored up that old line a little bit. Also brought in Russell Wilson. As much as you can say about Wilson, it's got to be an upgrade over Daniel Jones at this point. So maybe that frees him up a little bit more. I just think they run him into the ground these next 3 years. I don't see him getting, but being one of those guys that gets a second contract. But I think at least for this year. He's their number one back. But I could see the case for Scadabo stepping in and eating into that workload.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we're a little split on it, but you're right. Tyrone Tracy did play really well last year, so I think he's first man up. Um, and last running back in the group for her is Zach Charbonnet, and I think that the years left on the contract is wrong. I think it's actually two, not one.
Okay. I
Finishes, I
think that might be
think,
right. I feel like he's going into his third season. I don't think he was a rookie
yes,
last year.
yeah, no, I think he was a rookie 2 years ago, and I think Kenneth Walker, this is his final year. It's his contract year, and he was
Okay.
drafted a year after Walker.
Yeah, it feels like every year it's like, oh, Charbonnet is going to take over for Walker this year. It just hasn't happened yet. I think the games that Walker missed last year, Charbonnet did step into it and had 100-yard games. So he has proven that he can take on this workload, take on a big workload. He had 8 touchdowns last year, 42 catches. Um, but I still think Ken Walker's the guy. And I mean, granted, he's probably going to miss a few games like he does every single year, get banged up. And Charbonnet will be great to have for those weeks. And then, like you said, I guess the hope is that Walker doesn't re-sign next year and Charbonnet gets at least one full year as a back, as the
Yep.
lead back.
And worst case scenario, I think you're still looking at a solid fantasy asset that's going to finish, wide or running back 20 to 30 every year with, as being like a backup or a number two guy.
Yeah. Yeah, all around, I saw just one of the better group running backs we've seen. HN, I even thought about throwing in as a blue chip. I think you can make the case for him being just a perennial top 10 guy. Um,
It's just the size with me that like I can't put him as a blue chip.
yeah, I think if we were doing PPR, it would be
Yeah.
an obvious blue chip, but the fact that it is half point PPR, yeah, he's still gonna get if he gets 5, 6 catches, an extra 2 or 3 points, but maybe not as potent if we were playing PPR. Um, so yeah, I think that's also the reason why maybe we had purple versus blue.
Anything else you want to hit on?
No, I think she's got probably the deepest running backs in the league, maybe up there with like you and Rashid.
Yeah. All right, let's go to wide receivers. So wide receivers, I think this is where we start seeing a little bit of a fall off. So we have Garrett Wilson to start, just signed the extension. He's got 5 years left on the contract, including this year. Finishes wide receiver 11 last year. We had him as a blue chip player
Hmm.
last year. We both have him as a purple this year. I guess let's pause there for a moment.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
purple too high now that I'm looking at it? What do you think?
no, honestly, I wasn't gonna go fully the other way, but I don't know. I feel like last year we were kind of a little sour on him, and now I'm looking at it. He still finished as the 11th receiver, and I would say it's a pretty down year for him. I
Yeah,
know Fields isn't really an upgrade. I get it, that's like his college quarterback and stuff like that, but I mean, Devontae Adams stepped in halfway through the season, and I feel like that didn't re I mean, the thought would be it would help Wilson. I think you were on top of this. I was like, oh, that could help Wilson. Um, it was Adams is Rodgers' guy, and you could see that right away in the first month or so. So maybe now Wilson feels like he's the true alpha on the team, and he'll get his 150, 160 targets, and kind of ascend back into that elite role. I just don't know what that Jets offense year to year. You could get the worst offense in the league. So
yeah,
it's tough to say. I think talent wise, he's up there. It's just situation isn't that great.
yeah. I feel differently. Situation, I agree with you that not the best situation, not the best quarterback. Talent wise, I don't feel like he's like a true number one top 10 player at his position. Not fantasy, but just real life football.
Yeah, I can see the case. He's just size with him. Is it just hasn't taken over well like as he should have?
I mean, maybe a little bit of it is size, but I mean, it could also just be that he's been in a bad situation for so long. Kind of like a DJ Moore or like a souped up DJ Moore, I guess.
Yeah, he's
Um,
consistently had he's basically had 1,100 yards his first 3 seasons. Doesn't really score a ton. only 14 touchdowns in 3 years. So I guess that's a good point where I feel like to be an elite receiver, you have to be scoring eight. You're really hoping for 8, 10 touchdowns a year, and he's only
Yeah.
his career high is 7 last year. Um,
All
so
right.
yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Next one, Jalen Waddle. So this is someone that we had as a purple last year. Still 4 years on the contract. Injuries seem to be an issue with him, like almost every year. We downgraded him to a green this year. I think that is all injuries, is what that reflects. Anything you want to hit on with Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, I mean, his second year he had 1,300 yards. I mean, he only missed a couple games last year. It was really two was like kind of boning him more than anything. He only had 700 yards last year in 15 games. He struggled last year, which was good. That's less than 50 yards a game, where 3 years prior he was averaging basically 70 yards a game. So that 20-yard drop off is pretty insane, honestly. So you can see why we had him as a purple and then dropped him off into a green this year. I still think the talent's there where if Miami gets back on track a little bit, that offense can wake up. But I don't know. They looked pretty bad last year. So I'm a little skeptical on Miami Dolphins as a whole.
Yeah.
Where I think Achan honestly benefited from them just losing the receivers. It felt like at one point where they were just using the running backs, even in the passing game. It was a weird year for Miami. So maybe they get back on track and he gets back to that 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah. Certainly has the talent. Um, Jacoby Myers, I don't think there's too much to talk about here, other than you having him as a green and me having him as a yellow. 1 year left on the contract, so we'll see if he has any sort of relevance um, after this year.
Yeah, not too much to say. I mean, he had his best season last year. He broke 1,000 yards. And yeah, I guess putting him as a green was a little aggressive, but he was right there last year, finishing as the 23 receiver. Um, but again, he's gonna have to have another career year to even crack that top 20. Um, so yeah, I mean, even looking at it now, maybe that should have been more of a yellow for me. But if things break in the right direction for him, I can still see him cracking into that top 20.
Yeah. I think probably the last piece really worth spending time on in this group is Xavier Worthy, only 22 years old, first round pick last year. Finished as wide receiver 33 last year. We both have him as a pink, so top 20 upside. I think it's really dependent on the Rashee Rice suspension that's going to come in, how much time he misses,
Yeah.
and if Patrick Mahomes really gets that deep ball back, where he kind of has that Tyreek connection.
Yeah, I mean, he really came on down the stretch last year. Yeah, it was at that first game. I think he had like a couple touchdowns week one, the opening game against Baltimore. Maybe only on a couple touches. But that those playoffs, he was huge for him. Which I was kind of skeptical about him going into the playoffs, but then I feel like he kind of showed that he could be a stud. So it should be interesting year for Xavier if he can build off those playoffs and maybe hope it wasn't just like a couple game stretch where he was feeling good. I think his touchdown came in garbage time in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So it's hard to really factor that in, but hey, he still went out there and did it. But yeah, I mean, great draft pick from Jillian. Was that her first round pick last year? I believe
it
it
was.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, as we're going through this, I just want to I'm looking at her draft board. She grabbed Worthy, Benson, Charbonnet, Tracy, um, and Myers pretty late. So she had a pretty solid draft all around for her first draft in the league.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think it's worth mentioning. I think Bob Douglas has been, I guess, had a pretty good connection with Drake May. And he's still only 24, so I guess the hope maybe, and that's why I guess I have him as yellow. Maybe he takes over that slot role and becomes that safety net for Drake May. Obviously, you're hoping for a lot there, but if he can kind of be that fourth or that fifth receiver for Jillian and maybe just play him in bye weeks and stuff, that could be huge.
would you rather have Pop over Tank Dell?
I think at this point, yeah. Unfortunately,
Really?
I'm pretty sure Tank Dell's like definitely out this year, and I thought that the initial report was it'd be surprising if he was even ready for like the year after. that's pretty hard. I mean, yeah, maybe he can recover from that, but I don't know. That's tough to come back from. I
I
feel like Pop's
guess
been pretty good.
where I'm
Sorry,
coming
go ahead.
from is, yeah, I don't ever see Pop Douglas, Pop Douglas as like a consistent top 20 startable guy. Where like I agree Tank Dell's not going to play this year, but I could see Tank Dell coming back and having
Yeah,
relevance and playing well.
right. He's at least showed something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Pop's, yeah, the stats are even worse than I thought. He hasn't broken 700 yards yet, in neither of his two seasons. Um, Again, that Patriots offense is pretty bad last year. So yeah, I mean, if he doesn't show us anything this year, I think he turns into a cut candidate for Jillian's team. Um, but I think it's worth the hold for right now just to see how that offense shakes out with Vrabel year one.
fair enough. Anything else you want to hit on in this group?
Uh, no, I mean, Hollywood Brown is. He was 147 last year. I know he missed a lot of games, but um, it'd be surprising if he shows anything.
Yeah. All right. So tight ends and quarterbacks here. So obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Tua. Patrick finished 11th. Jared Goff 6th last year, and Tua 22nd. I know Tua had a lot of missed games.
Yeah,
Um, but we have Patrick Mahomes as a green. We had him as a blue chip going into last year. And Goff, I have as green, you have as a yellow. I guess let's pause there. Why are you a little lower on Jared Goff? I guess you're saying he's a top 15 guy.
yeah. That's kind of where I was hung up. I was like, I still can't. I don't know if I'm grabbing 10 quarterbacks. If I had my choosings, I feel like I'm grabbing 10 guys instead of Goff for this year. That was kind of just my thought process. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
obviously he showed he was sixth last year. He had a great season, career year. Um, there's just a lot of guys that I'm taking week to week over him. It's probably a little unfair to say because he has these games where he has two or three touchdowns, but he just has no rushing upside whatsoever. So you almost like you need the three, four touchdown games,
yeah,
which he was producing last year, but I think he might take a step back this year. And I know Jillian was kind of going back and forth a lot last year with their quarterback situation. Obviously, having Patrick Mahomes, you're almost thinking it's just like a plug and play. Did not end up being the case last year, um, where I think she was starting Goff by the end of the year. And pretty sure Dak was in the mix for her team at the beginning of the season before he got hurt, where she was maybe even playing him over Mahomes. So I think the quarterback position still remains a question for, but if she has all three of these guys, she at least has options to pick the right matchups and play guys against certain teams week to week.
yeah. I feel like we might differ a little bit on Mahomes. I feel like Mahomes kind of bounces back here, especially in the back half of the season towards playoffs for us.
Yeah, yeah, especially with Rashee Rice coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see him kind of moving on from Travis Kelce and just relying on his new weapons with Rice and Worthy. Um, yeah, no, I agree. I meant more last year where Mahomes wasn't as plug and play as he was in years past. I can definitely see him having a bounce back this year.
yeah. All right, going into tight ends. So we have Mark Andrews, 1 year left on the contract, finished as tight end five. I think that was really touchdown dependent, if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly.
Yep.
Then Evan Ingram, 2 years left on the contract, finished as tight end 34 last year. So he get injured or something, Jack?
He must have. I was like, as I was seeing that, I started typing in his stats because I was like, there's no way. It must have been 2 years ago when he had that massive year at this point.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm quickly bringing it up. Yeah, he missed. He only played 9 games, and in those 9 games, he didn't do great. He had 47 catches for about 360 yards. The year before, he had 114 catches for 960 yards. Um, so I think that's the hope there. Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit older than you'd like for a tight end. I was a little bit higher on him, but now just looking at this, I was thinking last year was his big year, but I mean that's tough to come back from a little 300-yard season. But from what I've read, Sean Payton in Denver, they seem to like him and fully embraced him as the tight end one there. and
Are you
Peyton likes to use
buying?
his tight ends.
Are you buying into he's the Joker in Peyton's offense this year?
I feel like I don't know if he Peyton actually said that. I just feel like reporters run with that every single year with the Sean Payton offense. Like who's going to be the Joker? Who's going to be the Joker? Um, and I feel like they're even talking about like Harvey as a Joker. So it's like, what even is a Joker?
It's
If
a good
it's like
question. It's a good question.
you're talking about your rookie running back versus your 30-year-old tight end being in the position. Um, but yeah, even Bretton Strange, now that Evan Ingram's gone, I think that could open up some targets for Strange there. I think he's slated to be the Titan one in Jacksonville. Um, but I feel like he didn't show enough last year where you could be confident in him.
Yeah.
And I'm quickly gonna look up Mark Andrews' stats. Yeah, he had 11 touchdowns last year. I do
Yeah.
remember he started the season off so bad where he was almost a drop candidate. I feel like at one point, like I likely was taken over, and um, he obviously figured it out. But yeah, it's amazing that he ended up as the tight end five, honestly, with the start that he had to the season.
How many yards did he have? Do you still have it up?
Yep, 673. So
Wow.
yeah, less than
Yeah,
40 a game.
that's crazy. Anything else you want to touch on QBs and tight ends?
No, do think it's a position Jillian could look to upgrade. I know it's a little bit tougher when you're going through, especially as we'll touch on. She's got a little bit of an earlier pick, so I think when you have like those late first round picks, early seconds, maybe you kind of take a stab at a tight end quarterback, but I don't think she's going to do that at 1.05.
All right, and draft picks are completely chalk here. So Jillian hasn't traded any of her draft picks, and actually should be 2026 1 to 3 because we're just gonna have 3 rounds next
Yep.
year. Um, but yeah, hasn't moved any of her picks. Sitting right in the middle of the draft this year. Next, you're the GM, Jack. So I know we were talking about this pre-show that it's pretty much chalk. That probably wouldn't make any big trades. Take best player available at 105. Guess you feel any differently since?
No, since the 20 minutes ago, no.
Oh, that's
I
brave. Appreciate that.
It's late. It's getting late.
It's getting late.
Uh, no, I agree. I mean, she went 8-6 last year. Her team like slowly improved throughout the season. I think she's got a pretty good roster for this year. You just got to kind of ride Barkley and H in until the wheels fall off, and that's not even to say that the wheels should fall off anytime soon. I think you just kind of build around them, keep adding pieces. I think the hope for her is that Tet falls to five and you kind of take the best receiver available. Maybe she feels like that's Travis Hunter. In that case, maybe take Hunter there. But I think one of those guys, both drafted in top 10 in the NFL. So they got the proven draft capital. So I think you take a chance with one of those guys and hope that they take over as one of your top receivers.
I agree with you. You take one of the two. I think the reason that I asked you if anything's changed because I feel like something changed on my end. And
Okay.
maybe I would consider trading out of 105.
Mm,
I know Bum has reached out to both of us. I know yours was more of pick based, or excuse me, player based transaction. Mine was a pick based trade. I think there could be a trade here where it's Bum's first round next year for 105 and then like a pick swap. So Bum's second next year for Jill's third next year, something like that.
mm. Just to kind of build some assets and
Yeah.
yeah, especially if I guess maybe Tyler, if she wanted Tet and Tyler just takes Tet at 4 and it ends up being a draft day trade just because she was hoping for Tet. If Tet doesn't isn't there, maybe she trades out of it. Um, yeah, maybe she could use that second round pick to kind of float that towards Hermes or Rashid to try to grab one of their bench receivers, maybe like
Yeah.
a Josh Downs or something from Rashid or if you can work a package for Terry McLaurin, if he gets signed, something like that. I think maybe that'd be one of her options with her second round pick if she doesn't feel like sitting there and taking another young guy. Um, but yeah, I don't think you make. I mean, if someone comes to you with like a Garrett Wilson trade, someone's high on Garrett Wilson, maybe you kind of make a move there. Um, Yeah, I think especially with some of her like the Jalen Waddles, like the trade value is probably too low at this point, where you kind of just got to hold him and hope that he has a better season. And same with Andrews. I don't see anyone um, trading a ton for Mark Andrews right now, so you kind of just got to ride him out.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Anything you want to add?
No, no, I think Jillian's poised to make another playoff run this year, and um, yeah, interested to see if she makes any moves at the draft.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. We got what, 5 more to go here, Jack?
Five
Time
more to
crunch
go.
here.
A lot of editing for Tyler.
A lot of editing for Tyler. So appreciate you guys watching as always. For Ruffin, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Smash that button.